in a way it was frustrating. In a way it was, in a major way, it was a huge growing experience for our marriage.
It's just finding that balance of showing your partner love and then also showing yourself love. Like some days I have more to give to you, and some days I don't.
It's all about the dance. It's the dance to stay balanced and to stay emotionally charged and healthy. Yeah. But she's kind of a freak.
I'm just good at living with chronic illness. It's my only talent. Hi friends, Aimee Esther here, and in today's video I have my special guest, my husband Joshua. I asked you guys what your questions were for him and I about marriage and parenting with chronic illness, because I have multiple chronic illnesses, and Josh has been here for the ride, and I have not shown him yet these questions, so we're just on the fly answering these questions. Off the cuff. Is that how you say it?
Yep.
Off the cuff. On
the fly.
So
that's a phrase.
It's new. Everyone should say that.
It kind of counts.
Yeah.
I think I've heard it before.
Okay. Well, anyway, let's get started with the questions.
All right.
So if you want to know my chronic illness story, I have a playlist on the homepage of my YouTube channel where you can watch my whole story. So we're not going to go into that today, but we are going to go into a little bit of a story about us.
Oh.
So you guys asked us some questions about marriage and life with chronic illness together, and a few people asked how we met and kind of our story. So that actually, like, our marriage story kind of leads into my chronic illness story. Yeah. So
sure. So should I start? Or
tell them how we met. Do we have the same story? Is the question.
Do we have the same story?
Yeah.
Well, you're going to hear what I say first, so I hope you say yes.
So we've been married for 5 years, by the way. Yes. I should mention
that. So we met because a mutual friend invited us to go ice skating. And we sort of independently accepted and met there just on the rink. And it was a lot of fun. I remember kind of checking her out and being like, oh, she's really cute. I want to talk to her, but I'm just spineless. I was too scared. What do you mean it's not how it happened?
That's not how it happened. Okay, this is how it really happened, you guys. So, I went ice skating, and I knew everyone there but this one dude. And he had the most beautiful blue eyes I'd ever seen in my life. So, I'm like, I have to talk to him. And the whole time he's surrounded by girls. The entire time. And finally, there was literally just like a circle of girls around him, and I see this little opening. So I skated on in, and what did I say to you?
I think that you said something along the lines of, hey, you have really pretty eyes.
So, never talked before in our lives, and I just went right up to him, said, you have beautiful eyes. I said pretty. I think I said you have really pretty eyes. Then we just started talking and flirting, and long story short, he got my number, and he called me, the next day, right? It was, pretty soon
I think
after.
It might have been a couple days, but it wasn't. I didn't wait long.
Yeah.
I knew. I was wise at this point.
So,
wiser.
He called me and asked me on our first date, and I just remember when you called me feeling really comfortable just talking to you, and we just kind of started dating from there. I think you asked me to be your girlfriend, was that our second date? After our second date, I think.
It was after the second date.
Yeah, and then I moved away for a while, and then I came back, and then we got married. So that leads us right into my chronic illness story, because we got married, we went on our honeymoon, and one night we both got food poisoning. And we were both sick for 24 hours, and then his went away. And it's been 5.5 years, and mine is still here. So I got sick on our honeymoon. That's when it started. So yes, we had met before I had any symptoms. And then as soon as we got married, that's when everything hit. So I talk a lot here on my channel about my story with this. So let's hear from Josh's perspective. How was that for you of dating someone who was healthy and then getting married and not?
Well, it was very interesting because, when we were dating, she was very energetic. She was very sort of I mean, she could just go all day. She always wanted to be out doing something, going places, having fun. And honestly, to the point where I was even a little bit intimidated. Because I was always a bit more of a homebody. But then when she got sick on our honeymoon, obviously it's like you gotta be careful what you wish for, right? Because I was thinking to myself, boy, how am I going to keep up with her, the rest of my life? And then suddenly it became, now you have to slow way, way down and not do anything. And that was it was kind of a huge shift. And she gradually got worse and worse just as her symptoms weren't being treated. And as new things arose, just complications that came from it. You can hear all about those in her detailed video, but yeah, in a way it was frustrating. In a way it was, in a major way, it was a huge growing experience for our marriage because we had to learn to, adapt to each other again, right? That was the whole point of us dating and courting, was that we could sort of really get to know each other and say, hey, am I willing to spend the rest of my life with this person? But, we adapted and we managed to pull through.
Yeah, and I think at the beginning we both thought this was a temporary thing. Mm-hmm. Like, neither of us
thought there was a solution.
Yeah, we kept looking for solutions, and we were just like, oh, once we get to the solutions, things will go back to normal. When we finally accepted our, like, oh no, we need to find a new normal, that's, I feel like, when things got better.
Yeah, for
both of us, so.
Totally agree.
So, I have another question here for you. For people who are dating and, they're living chronically ill, they're not married, they don't have a partner right now, do you have advice for going about that? Like, if we had met when I was sick? Yeah.
So, I would say that it's very much about kind of what you touched on, which is presenting what is your normal, what needs to be your normal. Being open and honest about your limitations is going to be the quickest path to finding someone who is willing to accept you despite those limitations and maybe even because of those limitations.
So, sorry, I just want to cut in. Would you say then tell your people you're dating straight away or get to know them better? Because I did have that question.
That's hard to say. Some people you want to kiss on the first date, and some people you're going to wait 4 months.
Kiss on the first date? Who would do that?
But, I think that you have to sort of bring it up early, but it doesn't have to be, just like any sort of talks of serious relationships, you don't have to just jump into the deep end right away. It's all about testing the waters, and it's all about sort of finding, the right moment to say things.
Yeah, like, for example, if someone asks you on a date to go ice skating, and, like, that's, like, my worst nightmare right now. Like, standing ice skating sounds terrible. Yeah. So if someone asked me on a date to go do that, I would have to tell them right then about my illness. But if, they just asked me to go out to eat and it was a restaurant that had food that I could eat, like, I probably would just wait and see how it goes, because there's a possibility that that date doesn't go anywhere anyway. So
general dating advice. You don't want to hide the parts of yourself that you're either embarrassed about or ashamed of, or even are scared might drive someone away. You don't want to hide those things, but you don't want to let them anchor you and keep you from, making the decisions as a couple. So from my perspective, I've kind of already answered it, that I would just, kind of read the situation. And there are certain situations where it would be more necessary to explain. Even if it was just like a small, like you could just say a small thing. Oh, I have this condition called POTS. That's not a great activity. How about one of these activities? That's probably how I would go about it. And then if they want to learn more, then you can tell if they're interested and want to know more. And last note, don't feel defeatist. There's nothing less attractive in general than a person who's not confident. Because if they're not confident in themselves, how can you be confident in them? Yeah, that's good advice. Okay. How do you support your husband even when sick? So I guess this question is for me.
Do you think that means support in like emotional support, financial support?
Any sort of
Anything?
support, financially it's harder for you to work.
Mm-hmm.
Emotionally, sometimes it's probably more difficult for you to empathize since you have so many feelings and pains yourself. It's hard to think,
Yeah.
well, what's he feeling? So probably just all around.
Yeah, so I would first say, like, emotional support, I would say make sure you're taking care of yourself first, because you can't take care of someone else. Sometimes, and I struggle with this still, sometimes, like, he'll have had a bad day at work, and then I want to overdo it on helping him so he can rest in the evening or something. But then I'm hurting myself. And so it's just finding that balance of showing your partner love and then also showing yourself love. But I think if you're not taking care of yourself first, then you can't really support that other person. So I mean, we spend money on my mental health. I go to therapy, I have a life coach, and when I use those means, like, we spend a little bit more money on my mental health, then I'm taking more time for myself so that I have more, like, emotional, mental energy to help him as well. And then, like, physical stuff, like, cleaning the house and, making dinner and stuff, he doesn't really care. I mean, it seems like you don't really care. Like, not that, like, if I was a slob, then, like, I guess I was a slob for a while.
I mean,
when I was really
everybody's
sick.
got that line, when it comes to cleanliness, when it comes to, I mean, any sort of thing, right? But, I try to be more understanding and understand, well, maybe she couldn't get to it today, or maybe she's not going to get to it, and that's okay. Maybe I need to help out more. But it's important to not, like she said, it's important to not overdo it for your partner to the point where it's becoming detrimental. Over time it can just get worse and worse, and it can become a rift. So you just have to find a sort of balance, and it's just a dance. It's just a dance to see how you can support each other, for quick bursts, for long stretches, and just, stay happy, really.
Yeah, and I think for me, it makes me happy to have a clean house for you,
Mm-hmm.
and to have dinner made. I'm really bad at making dinner, but it does make me happy when I actually make a good dinner and don't burn it for the first time ever. And there's been times where I've done things like I mowed the lawn once because I knew he had had a really rough week, and I knew that I would have a restful weekend. And so even though I knew it would make me really sick, I did it anyway. And I think it is finding that balance of, like, the emotional and physical health, and how much do you do for your partner, how much do you do for yourself, and it just depends on the day. Like, some days I have more to give to you, and some days I don't, right?
Yeah, and with that specific example of the lawn, as the partner, it was hard for me to accept that, right? It's hard for me to say, okay, yeah, thanks for mowing the lawn for me, go out and do it now, because I'm thinking to myself, I know that's going to really be hard on her. She's going to be suffering for the rest of the evening and into tomorrow and maybe the day after. But if it's something that she's willing to give and she wants to do it, and I'm not, I mean, I didn't ask her to do it, you also want to respect those decisions. Respect the decision-making of your partner. Just because if you don't, then they're not going to respect your decisions. Again, it's all about the dance. It's the dance to stay balanced and to stay emotionally charged and healthy.
Yeah, and I think we just need to allow our partners to have their own thoughts and feelings and do what they're going to do. And because we, as much as we want, we can't control other people. Okay, that was a lot on that one. Yeah. We might have to do 2 parts on this. We'll see. Okay, how do you make him feel valued and cared for? I guess I should ask you this. How do I make, or I don't know whose this question is for, but she said, sometimes I feel like I'm so needy because I need help around the house, comfort when I'm in pain, sick, and sad, and I can't help him outside chores, his projects, etc. So how do you make him feel valued, cared for, etc.?
Well, I mean, when you take interest in my projects to even begin with, it makes me feel validated in doing them and happy that someone notices and cares. Even if she's not the one helping me, replace a section of the roof or the wall or do landscape work, the fact that she may ask me about it and just say, hey, how's that going? I saw, out the window, it looks really good. That sort of, those compliments and that affirmation of what I'm doing, it makes me feel like it was worth it. The last thing you want to do is, belittle or devalue the efforts of your partner, right? Mm-hmm. Just like a compliment can brighten your entire day, praise for doing something that they love, right? So if I'm doing something I love and she praises me for it, that makes me feel really good because it makes me feel accepted. And that is more important than help.
Yeah, I think you're right. And another thing that I like to do is I like to find what ways can I help. So there are times where I might call my dad or my brother and be like, hey, could you come help Josh with this project? And just try to think of things, are there other people that I could call? Are there other neighbors that might help? Or I just think of any small project that I could do that might even just subtly help. Like when he redid our roof and I just thought, maybe I could help clean up the yard just a little bit every day. And I felt like I didn't make that big of a difference. It helped. But it did. Our cat just tried to get in. Did you see that?
I did.
Sorry. Okay. But I just tried to find, even if it was a small thing, what small thing could I do to help you? And sometimes it's just taking care of the kids. Sometimes it's just going and getting food for you, like picking out your favorite dinner so that you can finish your project. So yeah, I think just find little things that you can do and then give them emotional support and love. Okay, next question. Also, what do you do for dates to connect? Just watching TV shows and movies together is not cutting it. We used to enjoy thrift stores, being out in nature, hiking, biking. It's been a while since I could do those things. So, we're not like the best at dates, I would say. We're not
It's a struggle.
It is.
I mean, we're going to try to answer your question, but just know that we get it. Mm-hmm. I mean, that is... so there's so many nights where Aimee and I are just sitting there. Kids are just barely put down. We finally have some time to ourselves, and we're like, do you want to keep watching Turn on Netflix? And it's just, it becomes, very dull.
And I definitely get sick of TV and movies. Like, that.
She was never a TV movie person. I mean, when we were dating all the way up to she got sick. I mean, she almost became more interested in those things, but not that much more, by necessity. So as far as...
We like to go out to eat, right? That's one of our main, our date is going out to eat, and that is hard too, because if I'm on I'm on all these diets all the time, and so that's always hard, and so we always just try to find one place that is good for us.
Yeah.
So when I was doing paleo, we'd always go to a Brazilian steakhouse and just have endless meat, because that was one of the few things I could eat.
And by always, it wasn't like we were going that often.
No, it was expensive, but we would save up so that we could go there. Yeah, and then right now it's been Chili's because they have this veggie. I've been eating
a veggie fajita.
Yeah, and so we just kind of find one place, and we go there a lot, and it's just nice to just be there and talk and not have the kids. Other date ideas? What do you think?
Well, and it depends on you. It depends on what your interests are, because maybe if your A tier interest, your top of the top is you would love to go hiking, but you can't. Then look at the next tier down. What's your B tier? What's your C tier? And then maybe it's all about just trying things that are new. And I know that sounds very cliche. And in my personal experience, trying new things is so hit or miss. I mean, it can feel very much at the end of the night like a wasted night, because she feels just as sick as she would have, right, if she was hiking. but then she didn't actually get to enjoy the activity. And you know, sometimes you just gotta do the thing that you know is gonna make you sick and muscle through to enjoy it. Again, you know, I don't know how great of advice this is because that's something she's decent at, but she's kind of a freak. You know, she's just insanely, she's gotten to the point with her disease. She has adapted to these chronic illnesses so well to the point where, like, even if she knows that she's going to get really sick from eating something, from doing some activity, she'll just do it anyway and say, you know what? To heck with the consequences.
I just decide what's worth my mental energy. Would I rather, like, deal with the pain and the symptoms, or would I rather deal with the frustration that we can't do this activity, or that my house is going to be dirty, or whatever it is that I want to do? So I just decide what's worth it, and I'm just good at living with chronic illness. It's my only talent.
It's not your only talent. That's for sure.
All right. We have a lot more questions, and we both talk too much. So we're going to end that there, and then we're going to have a part 2 that will go up next week, and we'll answer the rest of your questions. So we will see you on the next video. Hello, friends. Wait, is that what I say?
Yes, you say hello, friends.
In every video?
It's like your brand.
Okay. For some reason,
It's
I
too
thought
late
it was
to change
different.
it now. You can't be like, hola, amigos.
No.
Hello, friends. What?
What were we saying at the same time?
I just always do that to mess with you.
This happens every time we film a video together.
It's because...
Hello, my friends. Aimee Esther here, and in today's video, I have my special guest.
Me. I am Amy's husband. My name is Joshua.
Sorry.